Okay, at this time, I'll call the budget workshop to order and ask for roll call, please.
Kirby. Here. Lewis. Here. Moon. Here. Mitchell.
Here.
Samples. Here. We have a quorum.
I'll now ask for the emergency announcement to be read, please.
Before we get started, let me read the emergency evacuation procedures. In the event of an emergency evacuation, an alarm will sound. Everyone should exit the building by way of the nearest stairwell in a safe and effective manner. If the nearest stairwell is blocked by smoke, use the other stairwell. Do not use the elevator. Once you have reached the main floor, follow the exit signs to exit the building and quickly proceed away from the building. Please be mindful of others evacuating and of emergency vehicles.
Now I'll ask for any input on items on the agenda. Any input items on the agenda? Seeing none, item D will be presentations. We're going to go ahead and bring them up. Do y'all want to have a chance to review before we bring them up, or do you want them to come up and do the presentation and then review? Okay, come on up, Brian. Industrial Development Board.
That'll be on your tab D1.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I request that this information be placed on the website for information that is handed out, so we're transparent in what the committee receives. That be possible?
Yes. This here, yes.
It's just a request.
Just a request, and we'll honor the request. You're aware, you heard that? Okay, Brian.
So the information I passed out to you represents what we've done in the past few years. It's been very fortunate for the community with so many announcements coming in. As you see there, $420 million and 2,200, a little over 2,200 jobs that have been brought in. With that, those are commitments that we've made for infrastructure to put in the community. We're putting our resources to paying for that infrastructure to accommodate those companies that have called Blount County our home now, and we feel like we can do that with same request that we had last year. So work very closely with Mayor Mitchell and Chairman Moon through the process with our Industrial Development Board, and just feel very fortunate. And we think there's going to be more projects that are on the near horizon too.
Brian, do I understand correctly, we're at pre-2008 employment levels?
For the most part, yes. I can't speak to the commercial, retail, and that sort of thing, but as far as our industry is concerned, we are. The things that we are chartered with bringing in and those type of jobs, we're actually past that.
It's great news.
It appears that you're not looking for an increase. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
We've had, and the reason is we've had some infrastructure that we've just retired, but we've now taken on new infrastructure improvements for these companies, so we think we can manage our resources and do it.
Brian, by overseeing some of the maintenance and the work done on some of the industrial parks, have you found that rather than contracting, which is what we were doing a lot of it, by taking that on, are we saving some money doing that?
I do it, you're talking about not hiring a general contractor, but
Yes.
contracting ourselves. Yes,
Yes.
we've done that quite effectively. With Marriott was one we did that with. Pronova's another that we're doing that with. You know, we have the expertise, but we still publicly bid everything. It's just we don't have to have it GC because we've got staff that do that.
Does anybody have any other questions for Brian? Anything? Okay. I hope next year was as good as this year's been. 'Cause
I think we're off to a good
We've
start.
been very, very blessed and appreciate all the hard work that you and the chamber have done. Brian, y'all have done a great job recruiting companies in here, and appreciate you bringing the jobs and the revenue in.
It's all a partnership.
Thank you.
Thank you
Appreciate
all.
it, Brian. Okay, the next item, number 2, is the 911 center.
Good evening. You should have been given a packet maybe a few days ago, a letter, a memo with some attachments. Is it on? You got that? Okay. I'd like to just elaborate just a little bit. The bottom line, I'm going to start there, is that I know in spite of being requested to keep it status quo, we are desperately in need of an increase from the governments. We've requested 7.5%, and I'll tell you how we got there. If you'll remember, the funding mechanism from the governments is the county funds 50%, and in effect the cities fund 25%. So if we don't get an increase from one, we don't get it from the other. Last year the cities were willing to kick in a 5% increase. The county was not, so we lost not only what the county wouldn't give us, the cities then turned around and decided they wouldn't fund us that 5%. And then since then, biggest thing that's happened to us in March, our second largest landline provider was Charter. We had about 12,000 lines?
Yes.
Something like that.
15,000.
And they were paying, as you know, landlines were paid $1.50 per residence, $3 for businesses, as opposed to cell phones. And we keep all that revenue except for just a small part what Bell South collects, all the other providers collect for, charge to collect. And then on the other hand, cell phones, that's $1, and all that money goes to the state board. They in turn turn around and give us 25 cents, basically, thereabouts, right? Well, how many 18-year-olds are wanting to get out here and hey, I want me a landline when I grow up, The landline revenue it's gone down close to double digits percentage-wise for the last 4 or 5 years. Is that fair?
Yeah, 5 or 6 years.
All right. So, and the state law right now recognizes voice over internet and charge it as cell phones, even though you may have a landline at your house. They recognize it as a cell phone, and the state gets the $1, and we get a quarter. Well, back in March, Charter was providing regular landline $1.50 rate for us. They decided without any warning to change to voice over internet. So in effect, what we were looking at losing is our total budget's about a little over $2 million. We were going to lose 12% of that. And for an operation as small as ours, that's a lot of money. Now, to be fair about it, the state recognized there was a problem. Especially, we lost the most of any county in the state. The state recognized there was a problem and did send us some additional monies that they weren't required to do, and they still aren't required to do it, but they recognized that there was an emergency situation. It did not make up everything that we lost. And again, and also to be fair about it, there is a bill pending in the legislature right now that hopefully will restructure how the rates are paid and who gets the what monies. We think it'll help us. We're not sure. There was an amendment tagged onto it last week that apparently the state board is recognizing that they're getting ready to lose some money, and there was some pushback. And so what I think has occurred then, I think some of the locals have got together and are trying to push back also. So I don't know. The thing's starting to get a little murky. So I'm not sure what's going to happen. I have no idea. But and we've been very austere in our budget. Unfortunately, about a month ago, we had to take a hard look at what we had, and we had to eliminate an administrative position and basically lay someone off. Now, we haven't done that. We haven't done that to any of the dispatchers, but we're about to the point where we don't have much other way to go. So that's the reason for our request, and we're going to make the same presentation to the cities. So that's where we're at. And as you know, we came to you about our insurance issue too. Our insurance rates have just gone out of sight. So we're about down to having bake sales and such. So,
Judge, how much did we lose versus how much has the state given back? We're looking to give back.
we estimate, what, about $250,000?
Close to 250,000 based on what we were drawing a month. We were getting about 20,000 a month from Charter when they ceased giving us anything. And that was the only landline we had left that was actually increasing monthly. Everything else has been going south for a while. And Charter was still going up. And so we probably lost at least 240,000 this budget year. And the state kicked in $205,000.
205?
205, but there's no guarantee that they'll do it again. That was just something they recognize the issue. They're under no obligation to do that.
Was that as a percentage of the dollar, or was that just in a bulk amount?
They had us go back the previous 12 months with Charter and just add up the previous 12 months, and that's what ours came to.
But like we said, Charter was increasing. We anticipated,
They had us go from March of 13 to March of 2012 to get what we had gotten during that period. That's how they came up with that 205,000.
So we lost, well, we got, I guess net, we lost about 35,000.
Right.
Right.
This past year. How much did we lose the year before?
Well, just a lot landlines decreasing.
The landlines have been decreasing around 7 to 8% every year for about 5 or 6 years.
So it's our income stream has gone away.
June 30th, I think 2008, Mr. Lewis, I think we brought in, that budget year ended 925,000. And this past budget year, we were, I guess, between 780, 800,000. And that's after raising our landline rates in the spring of 2012.
We are maxed out now. We cannot, by state law, unless they change it, we can't raise our rates anymore.
Is that what the legislature's looking at, is giving a bigger percentage over the 25 cents?
They're basically, one of the things they're looking at is having a set rate for every type of technology. Voice over IP, cell phones, landlines. They're basically acknowledging, I think, that landlines are just riding off into the sunset. So they're just trying to make sure that this doesn't happen again. And I think what they're really looking at is that the cellular voice over IP will greatly increase by having a set rate with it.
Thank you.
Your Honor,
Yes, sir.
the, obviously, we don't have a maintenance of effort since this committee didn't approve your increase request last year, which resulted in both cities not granting an increase. So you're actually 1 year behind at this point. There have been 911 centers across the country closed, haven't there? Because of
Yes.
underfunding, for whatever reason. A lot of it was due to voice over internet protocol. What would occur if the funding isn't adequate? What would happen if the 911 center closed?
I don't have any idea. What we'd be looking at again we'd have to look real hard at probably eliminating another position. And we're about to where we've got to have some folks in charge. But, I mean, it'll eventually get down to where we have to, perhaps, and I hope not, eliminate call takers and dispatchers.
It'd be very difficult to have people call the sheriff's department in the middle of the night and try to explain where they live in order to route someone out there.
We see our plot. We're asking for some help.
Well, unfortunately, it's going to begin here at 49% of the funding coming from the county.
Right.
You can't expect Merrill and Alcoa to come up if we don't take some positive action. Thank you.
Can you just explain how your new building, does it fit into this budget at all? I want to know, or I want everybody to know, whether or not the new building had anything to do with this budget or
Don't think
not.
so, because when we sold the old place, we got enough profit from it to pay about over half? Over half of the cost of the new building, and we've got it, it's an manageable amount. We've got a great interest rate of like, is it 4%? 4%. We'd like more, a better one, if we don't want good bankers to help us.
So the biggest part of your budget's personnel, would that be the next biggest part?
Yes.
Can you tell us how much of the
Salaries
budget?
and benefits are probably 80+% of our budget.
Oh, okay, so it's not taking up that much real estate.
No, sir, it's just day-to-day operations is what really hit us with charter.
Okay.
With the state giving back $205,000 tentatively this year, are they progressing to return all of that money back to you, or is this just a one-time?
This came out of the blue. I think, and I think they recognize that there was a situation. The state has, they've got a pretty good chunk of money in their bank account. And they're building it up to roll out this next generation that you probably all heard about. But I think they recognize that it won't do any good to have next generation if we don't have a place to use it. And like I said, there's no guarantee they'll do it again next year. And if this bill passes in some fashion, it could help us. Of course, we won't know that until mid-April?
That was 7%, y'all estimating,
Pardon?
7% increase,
We're asking for 7.5.
7.5.
Yes.
If you get the increase that you've asked for this year, where will that put the county over the last couple of years? How much are we still going to be shy on what our part would have been?
Well, of course, last year you chose not to fund, and then this fund is, we've gotten 5%. Or no, we haven't gotten any, have we?
It's been six years.
It's been 6 years, we believe, since y'all have kicked in.
But we've not asked every year.
We haven't asked. To be fair about it, we haven't asked. Simply because we thought we'd get by. We didn't expect Charter to pull the rug out from under us.
But you said the cities did put in 5% last year.
No, they offered it. No, they offered it, but when the county didn't, when it turned it down, they
Okay.
drew their hand back.
Now, the 7.5%, is that just over what the two cities and the counties asked to be paid?
No, we're going to ask same amount from each entity, 7.5, and you know, the net, or what it would net us from the county is an extra $22,000.
Okay.
So, which in the scheme of things is,
But you're still in the hole.
we are. We think we can hold out, you know, we've held out this long. We can hold out probably just to see what the state does.
Is there any other discussion or any other questions? Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Jeff.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Next up is soil conservation. Eric, you want to come up?
Good evening. You should have a packet before you. If you don't know what we do, my job is to sustain and improve the natural resources within this county. That includes soil, water, and air quality. And I do that in one of two different ways. Number one, I provide technical assistance to a wide range of land users within this county to improve the natural resources on their property. That includes suburban lands, agricultural lands, and we even have projects on public or governmental lands. Number two, I secure grant funding to implement a wide variety of conservation practices. For fiscal 13 year alone, we brought in over $575,000 in grant funding, and that represents roughly a 1-to-5 ratio for every dollar spent by the county. You, of course, have our static budget for the next fiscal year. Do you have any questions or any questions about what we do as a district?
Eric, the $575,000 that you've brought back into Blount County, that has stayed in Blount County, correct?
Yes, every penny of it. It's for localized, on-the-ground conservation practices. And that represents just a cost share percentage. In other words, we typically pay between 75 to 90% of the practices that we put on the ground. The landowner is then responsible for the remaining 10 to 25%.
That's just one small part of the things that you all do, though. There's a lot of other aspects that you all are involved in Blount County that benefit Blount County.
Who does most of your grant writing?
That would be me.
Requests? Pardon me?
That would be myself.
You do?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You've been quite successful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions, any discussion? This is overall cut in your budget this year. So, 121 last year, and he's at 119 this year.
You take out the $1,000 pay supplements for each, it's one time, it's still level.
Well, I was noticing communications, Eric, and that's one of the things I was going to ask you about, probably not tonight. I know communications has been something we've had to go back to the fund on, and I notice you're cutting it here. Is
That our communications for the phone system for our office had been provided by AT&T. We switched to Charter Communications about 3 months ago, and so that's the reason why that particular line item went down. And the rest of it was put back into our operational costs for printing and postage, et cetera.
There's another one you lost, Judge.
Sorry.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Okay. Any other questions? Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Okay, next on is the County Commission. Is Rhonda speaking on that, or Rhonda?
Good evening. I appreciate your consideration of the county commission budget, which is a very small budget, I think. On your first sheet, we pretty much tried to do what we were asked to do, is to stay in line with last year. So the total there is $189,479. We did have additional requests, which we asked for you to consider, is every term there's a travel conference that new or incumbents need to attend, a training conference put on by CTAS, and that this time is going to be August 26th, 27th, and 28th. And for the registration on 356 there, I included $1,000 there. Each incumbent that goes would have to pay $100. Any new official would pay, it would be free for them. And then the extra $100 is for a registration for me to keep my certification as a certified public administrator with the County Technical Assistance Service. And then the travel is just an estimate for 21 commissioners to attend this conference to be able to stay for 2 nights. Also, in the employee request, we included the 3% raise, and we would ask your consideration of that if other county employees or other departments are, when you get down to your difficult decisions, if you decide to leave that in there for other departments, we would like to be included in our department also. And thank you. See me having questions.
Do anyone have any questions for Rhonda?
Advertising, 302. I notice there's no increase there, and I know in the past we run out of money fairly quickly on that. Well, I'm wrong. Legal advertising is 332, and there is an increase.
Yes, that's
We
correct.
discussed that. All right, I just want to make sure we had our advertising in line.
That's correct. And sometimes we do have to use the money in advertising for our legal notices. This year, we're doing okay. We try to combine our notices as much as possible at the beginning of the year by just running one notice for as many meetings as we can for the whole year. And so that saves money on that if we could do that, but we still have additional meetings during the year that we have to publish in the newspaper as part of the Sunshine Law.
Also, if I may, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
does all the commissioners that go to the County Commission Association meetings, do they file, do those who attend, do they all file for reimbursement?
No, they don't all file, and most of the time, we don't have enough money in our budget to even allow most of the ones who do attend to be able to file for their gas mileage. Most of the time, all we can do that we can afford is to just pay for one night hotel room to go to County Government Day, and then per diem. And most of the commissioners do not receive even gas mileage for driving down there if they drive their own vehicles. So we really don't have enough money in travel anyway.
So that's County Government Day, which is usually in the spring, but there's quarterly meetings, County Commission Association. We usually have at least one or two commissioners go, but
Yes.
they usually don't file for any expense reimbursement.
Yes, we have actually, three, like we have the June conference in Gatlinburg, post-legislative conference, and then hardly anybody can afford through our budget to go to the fall conference, which is usually a lot of training goes on in that conference, but we do have occasionally, we have one or two who might be able to attend one of those and then just come back and report, but we have a very minimal budget for travel.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Rhonda.
Thank you.
Okay, next one up is the Highway Department. Bill?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen, Budget Committee. Seems like these things, the more gray hair you get, the quicker these come around, don't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to make it short and sweet. This year, I'm requesting the same budget we did last year, $6.3 million. But first, I want to remind you guys that over the past 3 years, the Highway Department has undergone a complete overhaul of its operations and staffing. We conducted an efficiency and productivity review and have revamped the department completely. The staffing reconstruction alone has allowed us to increase the amount of paving and tiling by 50% over what we did last year, with 18 less employees. And that started since 2011. That's a 23% reduction in employees. I think they've done a marvelous job. And as I told you all whenever I brought this proposal to you, what I would do when we matched what I did through this reduction. This is a huge accomplishment for our department and one I am very, very proud of. The upcoming budget year will complete the final phase of our reconstruction, and we look forward to continuing to utilize the funding we receive to the best of our ability. I'm especially proud of the employees of the Highway Department. They have stepped up and taken on new roles and additional responsibilities, and it's because of them we were able to see such a positive change in our department's productivity and efficiency. I asked you to keep this information in mind as you review this budget request and the 3% I'm asking for increase for the 55 employees. If you want, we'll go over the line items. We have done some. You'll see some increases, a few decreases. We start on 6-1, 119. That has decreased due to consolidation of positions and a decrease in hours. In other salaries, I moved one out of 6-1 into 6-2. Workers' liability, workers' comp, that's across the board county increase. Our increase in capital outlay in 6-1 Our software, ladies and gentlemen, is totally antiquated. John comes over and tries to work it the best he can, but we're getting further and further behind, so we're going to have to go over and revamp all of our software within the office. In our 6.2 cost center, we consolidated that one that's a decrease into position of several other positions. Foreman, we have 3 of those. That's a 3% increase for them. They have taken on additional responsibilities and the removal of that director's position. Equipment operators, that's reclassification. There's a decrease in it through some productivity progress. Light utility, that's a little bit of an increase. That's where we move some other people around, come up out of laborers. We was able to increase them just a little bit. Other salaries, that's the one I talked about in 6.1. I moved an inspector out of 6.1 into 6.2 to make that position more compatible with what he does. Crushed stone is an increase in it, and in our metal pipe, that's just due to what we've got outstanding that we're going to have to try and finish up this coming year. Some major projects, some pipes that we put in back early on in my first term, and then even in Dad's last couple of terms, they're beginning to rust out. And there's some big pipes, there's some high dollar pipes, so we had to increase that. And our salt, we've used it down. Mother Nature's heart this year has been rough on us, but we're going to try and restock what we had from last year. And again, drainage materials, that's a new product that we found. I want to put that in the budget this year. It's going to help some of this rusted pipe by putting the bottom back in it. It's a concrete matting that I have seen City of Maryville use, other counties use. That's very efficient. Good reports back on that. So we're going to try some of that this year. And workers' comp, again, across the board increase. 6.3, equipment maintenance. Foreman, that's an increase. Additional responsibilities for him also. Removed the director's position, but I moved the foreman up to looking at that. He's overseeing that. Mechanics, I had a new one, and part of these have been race classified. I was able to hire a new mechanic this year, but I paid him out of 6.2 cost center, so this is moving him over where he needs to be in the mechanic position. Parts, I hate to tell you this, but we've had to increase parts just due to the age of the equipment that we're trying to maintain. It's getting older, and it's costing more to keep it running. Work comp, same thing, across the board. For the county, budget improvements, this is an increase in this cost center, but it's not a new budget item. It was in administrative on the front end last year. It needs to be over here, so we moved it. And the 6.5 engineering, we had one gentleman to leave, so I pulled out of 6.2 to replace that gentleman in engineering, so that's the increase in that one. And road signs, this is phase 1 of phase 3 of the mandate that the Fed has put on us to upgrade the reflectivity of our signs that's out there. So started on that last year, continuing on this year. Any questions?
Is there a workman's comp line in 65?
Should be. Yeah, there should be. Yeah, there is.
I may just
it will be
513 down the wall.
It will be the same increase as the rest of them, Mike.
Okay, I see it. And
Okay.
why is there? Because that's over double, isn't it? Just about in all categories.
Mr. Vineyard, do you like to answer that? I love to lay them off.
Is that because we changed the allocation?
It's trying to get everything up to where the auditors want us, Mike, is what it is.
Okay.
So,
Don has actually gone through that with all of the departments and elected office holders that, based on our experience. And then we've had the fundamental issue of underfunding that cumulatively over these past number of years.
That's what I wonder if that came from our side or for the county side to all departments.
Everyone.
yeah, it's all of us, Mike. It's all of
Okay.
us. We're just absorbing it. But again, everything we've done, any increase that we've made, there's not many increases other than the 3% plus the workers' comp and the other insurances we had to absorb. But we've done it within our revenues, and then we're presenting the same budget we did last year.
Okay. Thank you.
So you're proposing a balanced budget, as I see it,
Yes, sir.
6.3
Yes, sir.
revenue, 6.3 expense.
We do our best, Jerome. We've always worked within what we've had, very, very seldom, you know. And then again, I go back and I thank you all. I thank the commission for what they done a couple of years ago when we made the cuts and put all that money over in asphalt. Very, very generous, very gracious of you. And again, you drive through your communities, you drive through your districts, and you'll see that we've doubled our asphalt, more than doubled our asphalt from when we first done this, so.
Where does your fund balance stand?
I think we're right about $1 million.
Million?
Yeah. Close to a comfortable level. Close to. We can breathe. We can breathe if a bridge goes down, so we've not been able to do that in quite a while. Any more?
Is there any other questions? Any other discussion? Okay. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you all again. Thank you all.
Appreciate it. Okay, next up, Register of Deeds. Phyllis.
Good afternoon. Bill said that about the gray hair. I'm just glad mine's not fell out, you know. And I think I've got him beat on the gray hair. Probably not a good way to start out, is it, Jerome? I appreciate all that y'all do and your consideration with all of our budgets. Again, I have done my best to stay within my budget and also to turn money back in that I have not had to use. So far, for this year, we have taken in our office, the money that we've had to turn over to the state has been $1,898,771. What we have brought in for the county so far is $446,455.88. And we've had a total of 14,364 instruments. That's actual documents that we have recorded. That's not counting what we've rejected. Our traffic increase in traffic that we've came in with inquiries on properties and having to make copies for people, sending faxes and emails. We've been quite busy, and we're hoping with the new companies coming into town that's going to increase our building and people buying homes here, and so hopefully we're going to go out with a bang, we hope, this year. Is there any questions on any of the line items that anyone would like to ask? We have moved from 709, the fees there, up to $399 for other contracted services, and that's where I pay for my data processing, maintenance fees. And as I had told you last budget, when we did the upgrade on our, or the maintenance on our software, we got our first year's maintenance. So that's the way I was able to decrease the budget on that, is because I won't be paying that maintenance fee, which is like 25,000, around 25,000.
Any questions?
And I
Discussion?
also put in for the 3% increase for the employees, along with the other office holders.
I think you answered the question I was gonna ask, but the increase from $5,000 to $36,000, you just moved some money around for other contracted services?
Yes, accounting said that that is better to use out of that line item. In years past, we've always had that expense line 709, which has not really been needed. It should have all came out of 399 because that's for those type services that we use.
Okay, that's good, thank you.
This may be for Mr. Vineyard, projecting 705,000 in revenue, and it looks, even with the supplemental 573,000 expense, the 132,000 in net revenue, would that be going to the general fund, or would it be unrestricted, or would part or all of that be restricted, Mr. Vineyard? Or am I looking at it incorrectly?
The only fees that are restricted on the operation of this office would be our data processing fees.
And is that covered in one of,
I think we're,
okay, out of the net coming in, we don't know what portion of that. It's by statute, I'm sure.
that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Did I answer that right, Phyllis?
Yes, sir.
It's about 37,000 we've got restricted on the
It's about
balance sheet
100
right now
100,000
as of
going into
last
the
June.
So about a little over 100,000 her office is generating for the general fund. Is that a
Net, yes.
net?
What most people don't realize, and I certainly didn't until she showed me, is the amount of money, the piece that she talked about at the beginning of her comments, is the amount of money that the county office, her county office, collects on behalf of the state of Tennessee that this county doesn't get.
And we cry a lot about that, too.
Yeah, that's how come me to find out. I walked in her office one day and asked her why she was crying, and she was holding a check that she was about to send the state.
Is there any other questions, any other discussion? Thank you, Phyllis.
Thank you.
Next up, the trustee, Scott.
Good evening. Couple of changes in my budget this year. I don't usually have many, but they wanted to reclass a couple of expenditures from other places in the general fund to the budget that I have. And that would be 334 is a new line item. And there's some more money in 399 than usual. And they're just reclassifying that from other parts of the budget. So that's overall for the general fund, not necessarily an increase. Other than that, a couple of the things that I was asking for, one of my employees added health insurance this year. So that was an increase. And The other increase that I asked for was in salaries and benefits, to request a 3% salary increase for employees in my office. Most general county employees, not all of them, some might have had raises due to promotions or restructuring or changing jobs, but most general county employees have only had one raise since 2008, excluding the one-time raise that was given in the past month or so. But they've only had one permanent salary increase since 2008. So I'm requesting a 3% increase in pay for my employees. And as usual, I like to tell you, of course, my office is a fee office, as Phyllis's is, and Roy Crawford's and some of the others are fee offices, and we're designed to operate on the fees that we generate for the county. And I'm projecting $1,950,000 in fees for next year, and the budget is only $467,000. So we're using less than 25% of the fees that we generate.
In 2012, I thought this body approved $1,250 per employee. Is that my error, or is that?
It was one time. It was one time.
We had a $1,000 pay supplement that we just approved last month, but budget cycle before last, I thought we approved $1,250 per full-time employee as an increase in pay.
Yes, sir. That was the one that I was referring to.
I thought you said 2008. This commission's came into office in 2010.
That was the one. That was the one increase that employees received, was the $1,250.
And that was when?
I believe you were correct. It wasn't last budget, but the one before.
2011.
I'm sorry. I thought I heard 2008 was the last increase.
One since 2008. So.
Okay, asked it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Right. Have you, I haven't done the quick calculation, but is your trend revenue per dollar expense continuing to go down? You're driving expenses down. You've shown me a graph each year for the last 3 years where your expenses, each dollar expense has generated an additional amount of revenue. Is that continued? I haven't seen the graph this year.
Yes, that should be accurate.
Okay, thank you, Scott.
Is there any other discussion or any other questions? Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, your property assessor, Tim.
Good evening. Scott and I don't have to worry about the gray hair problem. I have two different budgets I'd like to speak about. The first one is the 52,300, our main budget, main office budget. It also has the 3% raises that is included, and a 6,600 dependent care increase. And that's really the only increases to that budget. My bigger concern is the 52,310, it's the reappraisal budget. Last year, I tried to address a glaring problem that we have in our office, and last year's budget was not approved in the 52,310. This year, now that we're 1 month into the reappraisal, the problems are glaring that we have 2 people that we need in our office, a data entry specialist and an appraiser. And we're getting behind on the data entry because of the fact we only have 1 person on staff that does the data entry. And one need that we have, which is addressed in the budget, is a data entry specialist. The second would be the 8th appraiser. And the previous administration had a full staff to complete their reappraisals, and we feel like we need the same amount of appraisers and staff to complete a reappraisal. I did give a document, hand out a document that is part of our reappraisal plan, which was approved by the State Board of Equalization and the Blount County Commission, that states 2 appraisers and 1 clerical. We did have 1 appraiser we picked up last year, so it reduces the amount to 2 people we need, and that should complete the personnel that we need for a full staff. That would also leave us 2 employees short of what the previous administration has, but we feel like what we're requesting will be sufficient for us to get our job done.
Did you address 51,210?
That is the County Board of Equalization, and it pretty much stayed as is. It may have dropped $3 or $4, but it's flatlined.
Your actual expense was 1192 on an estimate of 3,000. Why the difference? We not have everybody show up?
I'm sorry. During off years on a reappraisal year, we only meet for a week at a time. On a reappraisal year, it's usually a month to a month and a half.
All right. Even with your supplemental request in 52,310, you feel like that you can defend any appraisal with that number of personnel versus what your predecessor had?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Mayor,
Yes.
just so everyone will know, the 2 cities enter into local agreements with us for their portion of the reappraisal process. So if Susan could just give you highlights of that.
Over the past 2 years, the 2 cities, Maryville and Alcoa, have paid in a total of $63,175. That's toward this reappraisal cycle. We do have memorandums of understanding with both of them. The estimated reappraisal expense for Alcoa is $40,908, and for Maryville is $103,492. And so that's what these payments are currently based on, and over a 5-year reappraisal cycle.
We changed the reappraisal cycle, last year from 4 to 5, is that correct?
Correct.
And that didn't change the total of what the 2 cities pay us, it just changed how much they pay us each year.
Okay.
We're provided that correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, but we're provided that estimate of what the cost of the reappraisal is, and then we enter into that memorandum of understanding. And then because the amount of money is significant enough to them, and this predates me, but they wanted to pay it on an installment basis because the value would basically require a tax increase just to pay their local portion of the reappraisal. I don't think any of us thinks that's good public policy. So every year we invoice them, they give us a check. Then what we would do, if you adopt his budget, is we would take that money out of fund balance because they've already paid it into fund. They paid it in as revenue and it falls to fund balance. And we have a disagreement right now with the comptroller's office. We think we ought to be able to restrict that. And for some reason, though, they think they need to see what the two cities are doing on their books.
What's the split again between Maryville and Alcoa on the expense side?
40 and 104, something like that, isn't it? Is that what you just said? 104 Maryville, about 43,000.
Well, 41, basically. 40,908.
That ends up being about 28% approximately, Alcoa, the difference to Maryville. I'll take the
About 28%.
based on those numbers.
And it's a requirement of state law, I believe, that cities have a financial contribution toward reappraisal.
Correct.
Is there any other discussion or any other questions for Tim? Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Next up will be the county clerk. Yep.
Okay, county clerk's office this year is experiencing an increase in our motor vehicle transactions by about 9% over last year. We're estimating that we'll do about 211,000 motor vehicle transactions this year. In the budget, the only major modification is we are combining printing, data processing supplies, duplicating supplies into the office supply budget. We're combining all that. And the only other modification is a 3% raise for the employees. So, are there any questions?
Anyone have any discussion or questions for Roy? Thank you, Roy. Next up is elections.
Before I talk about the budget, I'd like to just say a little bit about some of the accomplishments that we've made in our office. We're really going technology, and we have scanned over 100,000 registrations. Everything now is online. Everything that we have is on GeoSync so that we can look up people's addresses quickly. We actually went through over 73,000 of our registrations and verified that we had the people in the correct precinct, because if you had seen the map that we were using, it looked like it came over on Noah's Ark. And we had over 5,000 that were incorrect. So we went through all of those. We've held 2 special elections this year. This was supposed to be our off year where we did a lot of maintenance work, so we've had 2 special elections there. And by the way, the cities were very complimentary about how we had held down costs and how efficient we were and that type of thing, which I really appreciated. We have to send out verification notices to every person who's not voted in a 4-year period, and then they're made inactive. Then we have to send out notifications to everybody who's not voted in an 8-year period, and those are purged, and we have to do that in our off year. If you look at our website, I'm really proud of our website. Mike Kane is one that helps us with that. We have everything that you could possibly want from the election office. If you're looking for someone's campaign finance information, it's there. If you're looking for who has picked up candidate petitions, it's there. And we do that on a daily basis. And it really helps us because the newspaper would call me, nonstop all the time. Who's picked up a petition today? Who's picked up a petition today? They don't do that anymore because all they know they have to do is just go to our website and everything's just right there. This May, we've had the largest number of petitions that we've issued in the 7 years that I've been there. I think they're coming out of the wall to run. And for those of you that are running, I think you can say that when you brought your petition in, we tried to verify it and get back to you that day. And that's saying a lot when we had as many petitions as we did. And we don't just check to see if those people are in the correct district. We actually bring up their form on our scanned system, and we verify signatures. And people who registered 30 years ago and now, some of those are difficult, but we even search, it's kind of like detectives, to see, does this letter still look like the same letter, and that we can verify that. We're going to have 3 elections, of course, next year. This year, it's going to be our big election year. But we do all of that to say that if you called the state election office and asked them what county in the state of Tennessee is the most understaffed county, without a doubt, they'll tell you Blount County. Sevier County has 7 employees, and I have 2. Sullivan County has 7 employees, we have 2. So I have an excellent, excellent staff. We never take breaks. We don't take half of our lunch. They are dedicated employees, and I am very, very fortunate to have the 2 people that I have there working with me side by side every day. If you look at our budget, we just kept it flatline. It was $609,368, and that's what we're requesting this year.
The staff that you have and be able to do the things that you do.
It does make us more efficient. Of course, it takes time to get all of that on there and everything as well. But we can direct people to our website, and when we do, people are usually impressed.
Well, you're probably a good example of how that can work. Good job.
Thank you.
Ms. Brady, you said you have 2 employees, but you're a working manager. So
Yes, sir.
that's why some things are getting done.
And to say I do bring in people during election time, I have to. It would be absolutely impossible. Because before I had the 2 employees that I have now, it was nothing for me to work 60 and 70-hour weeks during election time. And I don't have to work near like that now.
And there's other people in this audience, when they became the elected official, they didn't replace themselves as an employee. And the citizens and the taxpayers should be very grateful. Thank you for the job that you do. And I know you because when I brought one in, you were there. You called it up and verified wasn't one of the employees, and I appreciate that.
And I guess the big goal that we have is to be extremely helpful and expedient with everybody. doesn't matter who they are. And I hope that we have proven that to all of you, that if you have any questions or anything that we can help you with, I hope every one of my staff, as well as myself, does that. And if you ever don't find that to be the case, please let me know. Okay, any questions?
One question, Libby, on your staffing line item 162, you actually are showing 3 full-time employees.
We are. I put that in last year. Yes, I certainly did.
You've got 3 full-time employees you're showing, but you actually just have 2.
I just have 2, yes. Yes. I'm looking for that, another person like the 2 that I have, and that's not always easy to find. But if you have a small staff, one, you want them all to get along together, and ours do, and you want them to work extremely hard and be very efficient and conscientious. And I think I can say that all the ones there enjoy their job, and they like serving the county.
I think you find that prevalent throughout this courthouse and justice center.
I agree.
Anything else? Okay, thank you, Libby. Next up is veterans. Nathan.
Good evening. I'm proud to be here tonight. I do want to agree with you that in my opinion, I think the majority of the county employees are very hardworking and professional. I've noticed that. Okay, we represent 12,358 Blount County veterans. And in 2013, the Department of Veterans Affairs paid our Blount County veterans $30,175,000 in tax-free compensation. This is compared to $16,423,000 when I first became the Veterans Affairs Officer. If you look at the top stories from the Maryville Daily Times of 2013, stories about our veterans were number 1 and 2. And I'll go over those in just a few minutes. In 2013, I was named the Veterans Service Officer of the Year in the state of Tennessee by the Tennessee Department of Veterans Affairs. I would have never received this award without the great work of my assistants, Donna Hatcher and Carrie Wallace. There is no other veterans office in the state or even the country that compares to ours, in my opinion. I am requesting a 3% raise for our staff. In 2013, we had 5,214 office visits, 8,694 phone calls. I attended 58 Veterans Service Organization meetings after hours. I attended 17 funerals, 72 home visits, and 35 nursing home and hospital visits. We also updated our webpage, thanks to the IT department, and we are on Facebook. And when I say hospital visits and home visits, I want to give an example. This is a World War II veteran, Charles Ritchie, served in the United States Navy, and he was responsible on his ship for downing some Japanese planes. But I got to work with him for a couple years, and as he was near his death, his family called me to the hospital, and I sat and held his hand. Last few hours of his life. Okay, so what else did we do in 2013? This is another World War II veteran, Charles Lawson Jr. He was wounded in action 69 years ago, now 70 years ago, and through our office, we were able to get him his Purple Heart Medal. This story made local and national news. Charles has become a good friend of our office. He's probably up at our office 3 or 4 times a week. And he even celebrated his 91st and 92nd birthday in our office. Last year we had we celebrated our Korean War veterans with a cookout because it was the 60th anniversary of the armistice to end the Korean War. By the way, I don't mean to be rude. So July 27th, we invited all Korean War veterans to the American Legion. We raised money to have a cookout. These are the ones that showed up, and I think it was a great day for those veterans. At the end of the year last year, we started collecting holiday cards for veterans. This was an idea by one of our veterans in Blount County, and we received thousands of cards for veterans across the country, and even some from around the world, like Switzerland and Germany and Italy and other countries. When I say we had volunteers visit nursing homes, assisted livings, and other places, the Maryville Towers, and to find veterans to give them some holiday cards because they've earned it. These are extra because we had way too many more than we could give out. We hope to give these out this next year. We did have a tragic situation last year. I think everyone knows about that, but we're trying to make something positive out of that. T.J. Jones. What we're going to do with that is this weekend, we're having a PTSD awareness walk, and it's going to be right outside. So we're really trying to impact all of our veterans with PTSD, young and old, because we have some older veterans that have it. We want to show them that it's okay to get help, and it's okay to have PTSD. Okay. This year we had a really nice ceremony for another World War II veteran, Winfred Dude Allison. I'm sure a lot of you know him. His brother is the statue of the memorial right out front, and he was called to service without finishing high school. Our office was able to get him his high school diploma, and here's the front page of the Knoxville News Sentinel, and he received his high school diploma, and it really impacted his life, and he never thought he would ever receive his diploma after all these years, so that was a great honor we had. And this week, this Thursday night at the commission meeting, this is John Morris. He's a Vietnam veteran. He will also receive his Purple Heart Medal after 47 years. He was wounded in action by shrapnel that hit his face and blinded him for 8 days. And he deserves this medal, and we're going to present it to him just prior to the commission meeting. One last thing I want to talk about, some of our achievements, is we don't forget those that have fallen. We've honored many of our killed in action, including Michael Fursky. He's our most recent, and we are working to get a bronze bust made in his honor. We've raised the money. It was $6,000, and it's currently being sculpted in Utah, and we're hoping that we can place it. His family wants it placed at the City of Maryville Municipal Building. They haven't decided on that yet, but we hope that will happen. So that's some of our accomplishments that we had, and I'm very proud of the work of my assistants, Don and Carrie, and any questions?
Nathan, I have a question on 425 gasoline.
Yep. Yes, sir.
I know that you ran out of gas money many months ago. Why didn't you increase your budget this year?
I plan to, and thanks to the good work of Ashley, she had found $500 that was in one of our salary lines, the assistant salary lines, that I wasn't aware of, and we moved that this year. So I'm hoping that will cover it.
Are we gonna have to move it again?
That's my question.
Are we gonna have to move it again?
But
Well,
no, you are very frugal in the operation of your office. The things that you've laid out, the accomplishments, that's played a great part in bringing it from 16 million to 32 million of dollars that are tax-free.
Mm-hmm.
Every bit of it spent in, well, it's available to be spent in Blount County. But I would like for you to look at line 425 again.
Okay.
I don't mind carpooling with you, but don't cut yourself short. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I got a question, don't pertain to the budget. Since you've been in Blount County, what, 2 years now, 3?
Mm-hmm.
Are you still married? All this running and doing it. Why I say that, I'm not bragging on you, but it's just a fact
Mm-hmm.
that other counties would like to snatch you away from Blount County. And I know, I've talked to some of those people in Nashville, so you have got my vote.
Thank you.
And I hope your wife understands.
My wife is amazing, and she's very understanding of my position and supportive. And we've been married 10 years, and so yes, she does. It keeps me out of trouble, I guess.
Well, I greatly appreciate you because I stayed in the military for 20, and I
Thank you.
understand.
Come and see us anytime.
This question's for Randy and his staff. If we had to move that money to that line to keep it in balance, do we need to increase it before we go through this again? Line 425. We don't have to do it right now, but before we finalize the budget.
Are you asking that
Yeah, they need to look
those
at it.
changes be made, Steve?
They need to look at it and let us know.
Okay, be considered?
Yes.
That's the recommendation, be considered, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you.
Oh, he is tied. Only one. Okay. Is that all of them today? Who's, oh, mayor's, okay.
You want to go around to the front?
All right. One thing I do want to say before we get started, you know, you hear the mayor's office, and I think that everybody has a perception that that's just one part of what goes on in the administrative executive branch of this great county's government. Let me advise you that over the last 4 years, I found that there's a whole lot more to the mayor's office. For some reason, the mayor is also over the animal center, the emergency management, probation, data processing, data capital processing, purchasing, accounting and budgeting, risk management, records management, maintenance, planning, development, HR and personnel, and whatever else I think that comes along. It seems to fall under the mayor's office. So we've broke each one of these down, and you have those in front of you. I do want to say that each one of the directors in each of these departments have been absolutely as frugal and as conservative as anyone in this county could have ever asked them to be with the funding that they've had. With that said, we'll move on. Y'all can ask questions. I've got each one of the department heads here, and they're here to answer any questions y'all have. Wherever you want to start.
Let's start with the mayor. 101.
Okay.
That state mandated increase in compensation.
Yes, that was the state required us to do that all the way across. Had they not, I would not have taken it.
And that's actually a good question. That is every salary schedule for every elected office holder in Blount County as provided to us by CTAS in accordance with state law.
Okay. My office, there is what's considered to be, I guess, the mayor's office. The mayor's responsibility is, that's count 51,300. The only increase that shows there is the increase due to the fact that the state did mandate the increase. Any questions on that one? Okay. Personnel, 51,310. That's showing a decrease from 132,540 to 118,430.
But actual being 73 roughly.
Development. Development's actually shown a decrease from 646, 516 to 636, 677. There's also that department also does develop revenue.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
do you feel like that you'll be able to adequately handle requests that come to development through increased economic activity throughout the county with this level of budgeting, with 636 versus the 646?
At this time, yes. There's some of these that are so hinged on the activity, just as you brought up, development being if we have an increase in residential structures, if we have an increase in commercial development, it pushes them. They work hard. They work hard every day to make sure that they're meeting the needs of the community. But in all of these departments, it's a flow. It's an ebb and flow. I mean, you can look at the animal center. I mean, we're seeing increases there. But we're being able to do it with the same personnel. Is the day going to come? Is the day going to come as this county grows that I'm going to have to ask for some increases? Probably.
Okay, you wouldn't hesitate then mid-year to come back with a budget amendment if you saw that the activity became greater?
If it meant that the difference in being able to service this community and the citizens and the builders and developers, you know, I wouldn't hesitate a bit to come back and ask for an amendment. But at this time, the staff and the directors are just doing a fabulous job, and they're meeting all of the criteria that they need and the demands that are being placed on them by this county. Overall, my budget is decreasing from $6,313,843 to $6,237,895.
Do you have a report yet on how the probation office is doing since we bought those bracelets?
I just happen to have someone here that does. However you want to go through this.
Mr. Lamb's here's planning, I don't know.
Did y'all,
Anything up on planning or codes or records management? We can go down to probation.
well, what's fresh on our minds? Joni, would you like to come up and give us an update, please?
Good evening, Chairman, committee. Thank you for having me here tonight. Our electronic monitoring program was implemented and started on January 15th. We have been growing. We have 10 people currently on the ankle monitor. 4 of those have been taken out of the jail. Well, all of those were taken out of the jail, but 4 of those are actually working and been able to maintain their jobs in the community. We've not had any problems with them. It's going really well. We look forward to potential growth in that. We're just taking it at a steady pace forward at this time.
How many, we authorized what, 20? 20 or 25?
40, didn't we?
Originally, yes, 40.
40.
Yes. And I'm asking in this budget for to cover 22 at this time. Electronic monitoring program is a very extensive program. I mean, it's 24/7. The 2 girls that are running the program actively with the monitoring, they both have 5 each right now, and they also have, with our caseload has been growing, we're still over about 1,950 probationers currently, with each probation officer having about 350 to 375 each. These probation officers see these clients either daily, weekly, or monthly, so there's a lot of traffic coming in and out of our office. So the 2 staff members that are on the electronic monitoring program have also stepped up and taken about 35 each, as well as taking these daily monitor probationers as well. And they've also been able to help in court. Our court has been super busy, and we've been able to have those probation officers step up in court and make it an easy transition when we get the electronic monitoring probationers out of the jail. They're able to quickly do that, and the sheriff's office has been working very well with us with that as well.
Your estimated revenue, I noticed from the previous year, was amended down. Where do you see the largest opportunity for revenue increase? Is that under the DWI program?
We have potential for increases in a lot of different areas. I've been here almost, it'll be 2 years in April, and we've added a lot of different new programs. One of those is the Batterers Intervention Program, which is our domestic violence program. We originally started with one tract of that, which is there's 16 offenders that can be in that program, and they go on a 24-week period. So we would have almost 2 a year with that. We were having waiting lists on that. So in November of 2013, I added a second tract, an evening tract, and we already have that full as well, and have been running 2 tracks, so that's 32 offenders every week for 24 weeks at a time. And we've already just this year, or this fiscal year, that has brought in proceeds of $10,478 as of right now. Then our electronic monitoring program, we have potential growth in that as well. It is a daily fee that the offender is assessed. Our community service levels are up also, which our revenues increase with that. We've already had 67 this year that's been on community service. We've had 166 in DUI school. We expanded our program recently when we did the expansion of our classroom. We've been able to almost double what we can have in our DUI school. And we've also been getting people from other counties that come to our DUI school. Our driving schools, we've already had 586 students this year, and I see that that's going to only increase as well with our classroom expansion. We also are recognized through the state, and a lot of people from out of county come to our driving school as well. So those numbers are up from the years before. So just various different ways that our revenue can go up.
How many people are on probation in Blount County?
It's currently over 1,950. And we have 8 probation officers, including myself, and 2 office personnel.
What's the big difference in other contracted services?
The other contracted services, that's where we pay our electronic monitoring program. We have a daily fee that's assessed to us from the company that we have to pay. The offender, it's an offender-funded program, so the offender pays that, but we have an invoice for the service that we have to pay every month. Incorporate that. Also, what comes out of the other contracted services is our PTS system, our probation tracking system. That's the system you've seen when you came by, that it does all of our, we can do receipts out of it. We can schedule court dates, all our offender notes when they come in, just a general tracking system for probation.
Budget, you've got that at 50,000, but it looked like we had budgeted almost 127,000.
Yes, we had originally did that on 40 units. But since
that's what I.
Yes, and now I just did 22 just because we're growing the program, so I didn't want to come back and ask for that amount right now. Since we're up and running, I want to do the slow, steady progress on that.
We also budgeted for the full year last year, didn't we?
Exactly,
okay.
Yes.
That gets me.
And so I just want to see the program growth before I ask for.
Great, thank you.
As we're doing it.
I'd also like to make a note on Joni's behalf. Carter County is coming in this week.
Yes, March 27th.
Or next week, coming in to see how we're doing it here, to see if they can start the program up, the probation program up. So I think that says a lot for what Joni's implemented and how it's working down there. You always want to be what other people want to be, you know. Thank you, Joni.
Thank you very much.
If you'd like, we'll have each one come up, if some of the other department heads, if y'all would like to do that. Anyone? Planning? John, would you like to come up and kind of give us an overview on?
Good evening. Y'all were talking about gray hair. I figured if you got it, flaunt it. So I'm getting a little bushy here. Basically, it's a reduction budget. We were trying to compensate for the increases in worker compensation, and was also asked to do a decrease in the operating portion of the budget, and we accomplished that. There were some line items that really were not useful anymore, and so we took them out. Be glad to answer any specific questions on any lines.
Don't have an actual line item, but the training component that's required of planning commissioners, has the members made a better effort to achieve that training level this last year?
Yeah, we've got some overachievers that probably have, 2 or 3 times the amount that's required. We do have some that did not meet it last year. At least I haven't gotten the documentation on it. That's why I haven't reported to the mayor. I'm still waiting for some documentation on that. But yes, most of them have made a very good effort of getting that training. And we do provide that very cheaply. We don't spend too much on that. We try to do most of it in-house, or I try to source it out. Other organizations that are having types of training that we can count towards planning commission training, I'll invite the planning commissioners to that at no cost to the county.
And that's why I brought it up. That's something that you could have in your program and at some cost to the county, which you find an alternative to take care of it and still meet the obligations.
Yeah, according to state law, the county is obligated to provide that training, the cost of that training, but I've been able to do it otherwise. I think the last time if you'll notice on the budget, in the 2012-13 budget on library books, it's $657. It reduced after that. We had a grant from the state, and I used quite a bit of that money to get CDs and videos that I could use in training. So it's very cheap to do it that way.
Do we, under revenues, I've seen where we've provided some other municipalities within Blount County planning services. Is that part of general service charges for planning? 905 and 906?
Yes, that's in fact that 15,750 are the 3 contracts for planning services to Rockford, Louisville, and Friendsville.
I have questions out of the 4th District when they see stories, wanting to make sure that there's some revenue back to the county.
Yes,
so,
there is.
Thank you.
They get a good deal, by the way. Any other questions?
Anything else for John?
I do want to recognize that we team up with the Highway Department and with Development Services to do inspections out in the field, and that's one of our goals, is to keep the quality of development up in Blount County, and I want to thank Development Services and the Highway Department for working with us on that.
Thank you, John. And I want to thank you all for doing that. I know you all work very closely together, and I appreciate that. And you too, Justin. Justin, would you like to come up and give us on some trends you see in Development.
I'd like to start off by, I guess, just briefly explaining development services since it was just created a couple of years ago. Basically consists of 4 different offices, those being stormwater, environmental health, building codes, and zoning. In those 4 departments, we have 7 employees. 3 of those 4 offices consist of 1 employee, and we have 1 administrative assistant to help maintain the office with those 4 offices. And provide a wide range of services for the citizens of Blount County. Primary services includes plans for subdivisions, as John just mentioned, and reviewing plats, issuing grading, septic, and building permits. With that permitting process, it requires plans review, inspections, and unfortunately enforcement for some of those situations. Just to give you some numbers, last year the department issued 964 permits. We performed approximately 4,700 inspections. We received about 8,500 phone calls and had approximately 2,200 customers come through the door. So we stay quite busy, but we do try to help the citizens in all their needs. And also with that, there's numerous different types of state requirements that the stormwater department has to adhere to. As far as the actual budget, really the only change would be the creation of line item 321, which that will go towards stream monitoring. As far as the actual stormwater department or those requirements from the state, stream monitoring has to be performed every 5 years. It's a 5-year cycle. The deadline for that is coming up in 2016. Obviously, we can't wait for that at the very last second. That requires months and months of time out in the field. So looking at possibly getting that started up early next year. So that's really the only, I guess, change as far as the budget. And I'll answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Thank you, Justin.
Thank you.
Also, at this time, I'd like to ask Chief Rafford to come up, the Animal Center. I'd like to have a chance for him to talk to us about the many things that they have going on.
Good evening. I've been here 10 months, so I inherited a budget, and this is my first budget that I've worked on, and we've tried to maintain a status quo budget. We did add our revenue into the budget this year that we're going to receive from Louisville to provide animal control services, but our operation is a 365-day-a-year operation. We provide all animal control for all the unincorporated areas in Blount County, and that we provide that 24 hours a day. Our animal control officer is on call. We're at the center every day. So far this year, I think we've intake about 2,119 animals. We'll probably intake about 3,000 animals this year. We maintain about a 90% adoption rate for dogs and about a 60% adoption rate for cats. Today, because of Smoky Mountain Animal Care Foundation, we now have a full-time vet on our staff. She began today. So we anticipate that being a great asset to our center, having that vet there 5 days a week. That's about it. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. And I have moved money around this year, and I've moved money in the budget upcoming to, when I started, we had 2 part-time employees. We had a staff of 5, 3 full-time, including myself, and 2 part-time. At the beginning of this budget year, we moved money around to take one of our employees to full-time. And in this budget that I'm requesting, 14-15, I've moved some more money in order to make our 5th staff member full-time. So that's why we're increasing the salaries, other salaries and wages, and all the line items that go with that.
I want you to know how much I appreciate the job that you and your staff do out there. It's nice not to get those phone calls from people from the animal center that love their animals.
Yes, sir.
You know, so that I would like to make a note that in 2010, when I took this office, the budget for the animal center was $764,805. This year, Chief turned in a budget of $342,931. So that's doing considerably more with considerably less.
In 3 more years, we should be down to 0.
He should.
You know, I'd love to say that, sir, and work myself out of a job. You know, what you'd expect to see is that you would expect to see a decrease over a period of time in the number of stray animals, because spay and neuter. You know, we don't let any animal out of the animal center unless it's been, you know, spay or neutered. It has to be altered before it leaves. So, but we do, you know, last year we serviced about 3,000 plus animals, and we'll probably do the same thing about this year. So I don't know if we're reaching a plateau where that's the best we're going to get, or if we can continue to drop it down.
That's a great job.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chief.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
This time I'd like, Damon, would you like to come up here, please? I'd like to let you give some updates on some things that we've got going on with the maintenance and the building.
Good evening. Just to give you a brief rundown, because most people don't know what maintenance does, we currently have 10 facilities that we oversee. The Courthouse, Justice Center, Annex, Shelter, Operations Center, Boys and Girls Club, Children's Home, Hubbard Health Department, and the library. Of those facilities, 2 are full service, which is the Justice Center and the Courthouse. 2 are what we call pickled service, Boys and Girls Club and the Children's Home. 2 are partial service, Annex and Operations Center. And we have 4 facilities that are on demand, meaning if they pick up the phone day or night and they need services, we provide them. That is the shelter, Hubbard, the health department, and the library. With those facilities, we provide not only custodial service to the full-time, but fire alarms, fire sprinklers, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, electrical systems, power production, plumbing, utility monitoring, structural repairs, digital controls, locksmith services, including jail locks, and grounds maintenance. All of that is done with, I have 2 full-time maintenance people, and I'm what the Air Force used to call a working supervisor. And I steal 1 custodian who is gifted in that area to augment on my maintenance staff. We provide services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. When you got me in this job 20-some years ago, I was 42 years old. I am now 63. You can see what it's done to me. Nights, weekends, holidays, it starts to take its toll.
Last 4 years have been the worst, though, right?
Oh, no. But I love Blount County. I love my job. I've got a great boss, great supervisors. I wouldn't have it any other way. This year, as painful as it's going to be, after talking with the mayor and Mr. Vineyard, we elected to eliminate the secretarial position. She's going to be retiring at the end of June. We're not going to fill that position. Do I like it? No. It's going to put an extra strain on me. But after talking with the mayor and Mr. Vineyard and Teresa Johnson in the purchasing department has agreed to pick up some of the responsibility that my secretary had to take the load off of me. And there may be some adjustments that need to be made, but I think it's going to work. So we took that funding from that secretarial position and the benefits, and we spread it out through the rest of the budget, and we still came in under budget. And we took that money and we put it in some key areas. My bread and butter is 334, 335, 336. Those are the line items that keep me alive. Without that money, I've got no money for repairs and services. So that's where the bulk of that went to. And still came in under budget.
Amy, how much money did you turn back last fiscal year?
I don't know, sir. I've turned back money every year that I've been in this job.
Why did we have leaks in the Veterans Affairs office for a couple of months? We're turning money back.
In many cases, it's because we've got a very aggressive energy management system in my department that we've been able to save money and not have to come back here and ask you for additional utility money.
But why couldn't we use that money to repair the roof, stop the leak?
We do, in many cases. But stopping leaks takes this amount of money, replacing roofs takes this amount of money.
I understand.
We got a unique situation with that cap on this courthouse and that metal roof up there. It's kind of like you either fix it all. It's hard to piecemeal and fix pieces of that, is it not, Damon?
Mm-hmm. This roof has already been scheduled for replacement, the one over your head now, and work should begin on that within the next 30 days.
Okay, that's.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to hear. Thank you.
Funding, you approved funding for that last year, and we're in the process now of getting that finalized.
Also, under Damon's budget, which inevitably falls under the mayor's budget, all the utilities are paid, all the communication is paid. I mean, that's not broke down by department. It comes out of this office. It comes out of Damon's office. So it inevitably that's going to be looked at as a huge amount of money, when in fact it's not. It is a lot of money, and it's all in one place because it all comes from one budget. Yeah, 51,900.
Damon, what about the HVAC units? What kind of situation are we there? What kind of shape are they in?
We had a major project last year in replacing the 26 units at the Justice Center. We got a grant and replaced those units with higher efficiency units. I have projected for replacements on this facility and several other facilities over the next 3 years. We have 3 units that are down right now at the Operations Center. They had a breach in their heat exchangers, and we've already gone to bid on replacing those. The next step is replacing the HVAC units we have on the 1974 side of this facility. They've reached that same point that we're going to start losing heat exchangers if we don't start replacing them. So I have requested capital outlay funding to do that.
Okay, so that's one of the.
Anything? Thank you very much, Damon. IT, John? You didn't get down low enough in the chair, John.
4 years ago, didn't you have black hair?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Mr. Moon, what? Okay. We have a couple of adjustments in our budget. We had someone retire this last year, so we're trying to adjust some salaries to bring in some new employee to try to help with meeting everyone's needs. We're also asking for some additional money in tuition to get some training for the employees we do have. We've rearranged some money from other contracted services that was used for printing and stuffing of tax notices that was transferred to the trustee's office. And then in capital outlay, we are requesting money to help replace all the outdated, I was looking for another word, but outdated XP machines that exist in the county. And that's not all going to happen in 1 year, because even if you gave us all the money, we couldn't do it in 1 year.
Are we on track for upgrading the systems, upgrading the the computers? Are we, the funding's in there to do that in small increments, correct?
The funding that's in there is not sufficient to do it in 4 or 5 years. It needs to be increased as it stands right now. Well, what's in there now is 37,000. We need approximately 90,000 to do it in 4 years.
90,000 per year.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure
Yeah.
it's clear, not 37.
Yeah, there's 147 machines in the county and 90-some machines in the sheriff's department, and the county includes the highway department. And then there's some laptops that the sheriff's department has. You figure around $1,000 per machine, and it adds up quick.
So this is all hard equipment replacement?
Yes, sir, in the capital.
It's back to Mr. Vineyard's capital requirements budget.
Well, I'd like to make a note that in 2010, when I took this office, John's budget was $670,400. He's now at $579,000, so he's almost $100,000 less.
If we defer the $90,000 a year of capital we need, we're back to the original 600,000.
Right. We're just back to where we were in 2010. Thank you, John.
Thank you, John, for what you do for us.
Kathy, would you like to come up and talk about emergency management?
Do you all know what emergency management does? I can tell you in not less than a minute. No, it'll take me 2 anyway. We are a resource office. What we do is, I'm the office now, so in the last 13 years I have been primarily the grant person, and we have brought in over $4 million worth of grants. And all of this has been spent on first responders, Blount County government, whoever needs the money to protect, to make us better, and to protect the citizens. The 911 center has been gracious enough to let us stay out there for the last, since we've been open for the last 5 years. And I spent between $250,000 and $300,000 on that equipment in the training room and the EOC, which all came from grant money. We're primarily operational on grant money. As you can see from my budget, where it says a project out from the number, line item number, those are grant dollars that I operate on.
There's a lot of equipment throughout this county in emergency services that we would not have if we had not had Kathy in the position to be able to attain that through grants. Appreciate everything you've done. She is in a situation now. The emergency management director left to go to work somewhere else, and I haven't replaced him. At this time, and I'm going to meet with the emergency management board and look at Kathy's been doing primarily 90% of everything that's happened in that office for the last 13, 14, 15 years, and I'm speaking from experience because I worked with her most of that time. And we're going to probably go with a part-time assistant to help her and try to reduce the cost in that budget, even though she does sustain herself with grants. And but we have made some significant changes in that office. But And also Kathy has moved to the courthouse. Her office now is at the courthouse.
As of Wednesday.
As of Wednesday. And the way that works, that allows her to use our risk management resources, our HR resources, and our purchasing resources, which Teresa's graciously offered to help, as well as with the working together with the other organizations, and I appreciate that. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Kathy. Does anybody have any questions? Thank you. Thank you, Kathy. Teresa, do you want to come up and...
Thank you. Purchasing also has held our budget steady, as we have for several years now. And I'd like to brag on my staff also. We're down in number, like a lot of departments here, but they have stepped up and just done above and beyond. We handle 75 to 80 annual contracts per year we bid and maintain, and that's not counting the one-time capital projects that may come our way. But our operating expense is very low, and have a very hard-working staff, but there's no changes to our budget this year. If you have any questions on the line items, I'd be happy to address them for you.
Any questions? Go ahead.
When we're approved to go out and co-op a lot of stuff, does that save the county a lot of money, Teresa?
It does. You're talking...
Would you have any estimate?
I don't have...
100,000 or so?
Easily, I would say we save that. And we have cooperatives between other counties. We have it nationally. You know, something may be bid on a national basis, but we're able to buy from it and save quite a bit just on the volume. You know, they look at the total volume. The state does that too. They'll have contracts that involve the volume that the state.
So actually, what happens is what you go out and contract with under the co-ops or whatever, that actually spreads out over the whole 101 system, because you contract for all the other, you go out for the contracts.
Yes.
So it's
we try to save
spread
each department as much money as we can.
Thank
yes.
you.
We want to get them the service that they need and the product they need in a quality product, but also at the least expensive cost we can.
I'd also like to make note that since 2010, that Teresa has cut her budget almost 19%. Thank you, Teresa. So, the children, the Boys and Girls Club. Jackie, would you like to come up?
Thank you for looking at our budget. This year I wrote down some things that we do in addition to our regular duties. We were able to scan and microfilm about 53,000 documents, and I projected a savings of about $17,280 by doing it in-house versus sending it out to get it scanned. We have a lot of records of other offices, and we've recently gotten in records from the probate office, and that has increased our calls for records. I've got a digital project that I've been working on that's large TVA maps, and when I get these indexed, I've got them imported into our Laserfish server But once I get these imported and indexed, they'll be online and they'll be accessible from the Register of Deeds website. We have alphabetized and worked up 72 boxes of probate records. We've got about 54 of these indexed, and we've got 41 boxes that are labeled and refoldered and put in acid-free folders and acid-free boxes. We've got a deal worked out with Tennessee Library and Archives, State Library and Archives. They'll come in and pick up these records once I get them indexed, and they'll take them to Nashville and microfilm them for us. So that's a pretty good deal. Some of the things that we've been able to do this year, I was reappointed to the Tennessee Historical Records Advisory Board. That's appointed by the governor for the third term. I've been able to get about 10 grants that for a grand total of $32,500 since the beginning of the records department. In 2011, I took the records module of the Intergovernmental Preparedness for Essential Records program and was able to design an emergency preparedness manual for our office. I've been able to participate in the Council of State Archivists meetings via webinars, and in 2005 we were voted the most advanced archives in the state of Tennessee. I'm one of 2 records manager archivists that's on the state board. We provide community service to the community by providing training for senior workers that in exchange for our training, we're able to get them to work for us, and they're paid through the government. We also participate in the youth training program where we get a youth from high school that comes in and helps us with our indexing records. Right now I've got one retiree that volunteers about 10 hours a week. And sometimes we're able to use probationers. Joni started giving them my phone number, and they help us clean our office. So every year we do Archives Week at the library and celebrate the importance of records keeping. Our other duties are just maintaining our inventory and filling records requests from other departments and the public. And we also, I'm authorized to approve temporary records for shredding. We use the CTAS manual to go by for that. We shred records and we transport records from other county offices when we get an opening and get enough room for taking any in. And I'm the secretary of the Records Commission, and we're mandated to meet twice a year. And Judge Brewer's our chairman of that committee, and I do the minutes. Do you all have any questions on my budget?
Any questions? Thank you, Jackie. Thank you for the job you do. Risk management and HR, I don't guess anyone's here. They're on vacation. well, the budget's flat, but I'd also like to point out since 2010, HR personnel department has cut their budget over 30%, and risk management has cut their budget almost 18%. So if it's obvious that I'm very proud of the department heads that fall under the mayor's office, then it's supposed to be. It's supposed to show, and because I am. They've done a great job. And I think any government or any business or anyone would be proud to have any of these department heads because they do one heck of a job for this county. Y'all have any other questions about the mayor's office? I'm saving the best for last. Accounting and finance. No. Randy, do you have anything that you?
Yeah, let me touch on a couple, three things. The three initiatives that we're going to place a high priority on, one of these is kind of overlapping right now, but you've heard mention of different things related to capital. That's a real deficiency that we have in the county. We've probably not been investing enough in those capital things that we need to, and the quid pro quo is that if you invested on what I call the support things on our side of the house or IT, then hopefully that can save money down the road for operating departments. And frankly, you're only as good as those technical capabilities and tools, and right now we're deficient in that area. You will see a semblance of a first stab at our capital plan for this year in the budget we submit to you, and we'll talk about that later on when we talk about debt service, because those go hand in hand, in my opinion. It doesn't mean that everything that you invest in from a capital standpoint is to be paid from borrowed dollars. It won't be. There will be some things like John's $37,000 worth of operating equipment that we'll pay for out of operating funds. The second thing that we'll be focusing on this year is refinancing opportunities of yet some of the other outstanding debt that we have to see if we can lower our borrowing costs in those areas. And then the big initiative that we'll be doing very soon, hopefully, is when we make a decision on what we're going to recommend to this body and the full commission with respect to an HR and payroll processing system. I've got 3 retirements that my budget proposal is actually $40,000 higher than the current year budget proposal. And about $19,000 of that is going to be related to 3 retirements that I have in the upcoming year, and that will be the accumulated leave that those employees are entitled to once they retire. In addition to that, it's been pretty evident to me, at least since I've gotten here, I've tried to place a priority and a premium. I'm only as good as the people I've got working with me. And I've tried to emphasize bringing some very competent staff in here, 2 of which you see up here on either side of me right now. And then I've got other competent staff that I've been able to bring on board since I've been here. And part of that is this county deserves having professionally trained and educated staff. And we've made a significant area to try to upgrade in those areas, and I think we've done that. The other part of that is being able to keep and maintain that level of competency on the staff for the public in Blount County. And I don't believe any more than anybody else in just giving raises across the board. I want to make sure that I reward the people that deserve it. Everybody isn't always weighted the same. That sounds cruel, I know, but that's fact. And what I'm trying to do is to make sure that when you get these staff in place, that you invest in them from a professional development standpoint and let them maintain and sharpen those skills. Nothing stays the same in this business, except the 1957 Act. And I had to get that dig in. It's a little on the frustrating side. So you'll see a $40,000 request. $18,000 of it is due to staff that will be retiring, 3 people, 2 of which make up the entire payroll department on our side. And we have a very, very antiquated system, and hopefully we'll be able to bring something to the commission soon in the way of updating that. And The downside to that is, and I understand the discussion that's happened in the past where all of us would like to see what the payback's going to be. Nobody wants to see that any more than I do. But unfortunately, on the front end, you're going to have to invest something, and then hopefully the payback's going to happen fairly soon. But we'll have to ramp up some staff. I can't afford, that's the single largest expense we have in county government is our people. And we cannot afford to have any slippage there. And part of this $40,000 increase is about $16,000 that I'd like to invest in somebody to come in here and work, and as part of the transition with the 2 staff members that I have. So that makes up the increase that I've requested, and hopefully you'll continue to see some benefits from that. The other thing I'd like to say at this time is, and I'll say it for the other folks too, in the next 2 weeks that we have our budget hearings, I've been very pleased with the support that all the department heads and in particular elected officials have given us, because we've kind of put them through a lot of transition as well. It's not just in my shop that's going on, or in the mayor's offices. Everybody else has done a really good job, I think, of playing ball and being teammates in this whole process. And I really do appreciate and want to commend them for all their efforts in supporting what we're trying to do. It's, some of you have heard me say this before, and it's true. To the degree there are people that think we can probably do things better, that's true. To the degree that could I cut $500 out of some line item and do without? That's probably true too. But I can tell you for a fact, this county is not wasteful in what it spends money on. And the unfortunate thing is we need to invest some money in some things, and most of those are going to be support systems. I've teased John, I don't want to be with him when he crosses the street, because if he gets hit by a Mack truck, we're in trouble. And I really appreciate all he does and his staff in supporting what we're trying to do as well. Anybody have any questions?
I would like to say that even with the increases this year, we're still almost 5% below what we were in 2010. In accounting and budgeting. Does anybody have any other questions? You can.
Well, I was up here, but I wanted to let y'all know, when we were reviewing the ankle monitoring system, the company was just astounded by Joni's workload and the staff that she had. I know you have given her a couple of positions, which I'm sure has helped, but they were very well deserved, and she's done an excellent job, but I just wanted to let y'all know that. Thank you.
Joni, how many probationers does each one of your people average handling a month?
Currently, it's between 350 and 375. And then the 2 new ones have around 30, 35, and then the 5 electronic monitoring people, which is a 24/7 job.
And if you look at the average across the state, from the state to other probation departments, what is about the average on that they would normally say you should handle?
Around 100 to 150.
That's right.
They're holding about double of what most probation are.
About 3 times what?
Yeah.
They're handling 3 times what the normal load would be.
And plus, we've got the programs that other people don't have, the other agencies don't have. So, and all our driving school is, our whole staff is driving school instructors, so they handle that. And then batter's intervention, we handle that too. We're instructors for that. So and then they have 1 day in court each week, each probation officer as well. So they have a lot of roles. And they do great. All of them are just fantastic. So.
I know that Joni's drive is to be totally self-sufficient, and she talks to me about it every week. It's just she's driven by that department to be absolutely at no cost to this county, and she's within just a little bit of dollars of being there, and I appreciate that very much, Johnny, for everything that you do.
Absolutely.
I would like to echo it. I can say that I'm speaking for all the judges. We're very, very pleased with what's going on compared to what we used to have. Very professional, cooperates with us. We talk every day, Mr. Brown. So y'all got it. It's good.
Yeah. No.
You're doing your job so well, you make hers wonderful.
No. I don't think failure is in her vocabulary, to be honest with you. Thank you. John, do you want to come up and talk about the extension, ag extension?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, distinguished commissioners. As a public service unit of the county, the Ag Extension Service, we provide service and education to the citizens of the county, and do this through informal education. It's a collaborative effort with the University of Tennessee and our most recent state partner, Tennessee State University. We've submitted a flat budget, as in the past couple of years, and in doing so, we try to maintain still a level of services. You know, we've tried to carry our load with the budget cuts in recent years, and but let me say that we do appreciate your support and cooperation of the county departments, and Eric and Soil Conservation. We collaborate on a lot of joint initiatives. We deliver primarily in agricultural and natural resources, family and consumer sciences, and youth education. And we do this informally on the farm, in the home, in the school, restaurant, banquet room, workshops, meetings, on-farm demonstrations. In the most recent contact year, or reporting year, we have about 45,000 plus contacts. Now that includes group meetings, contacting folks in their home, phone calls, and so forth. And for each dollar that the county appropriates for the program here locally, they put up another $4. So it's a cooperative agreement. Those $4 primarily from state, and from time to time the U.S. Department of Agriculture will put in a little bit of money. We are addressing 2,000 plus youth in the county through the 4-H Club program. We've got, by the USDA census, which a farm is defined as having $1,000 or more of gross income, and as you can imagine, out of approximately 350 farms in the county that meet that criteria, there's a huge scope in the range there. In my area, I work primarily with ag clientele and the natural resources. We've just finished a master beef course over the weekend. We've trained in the past 6 months 30 plus farmers in the master beef certification program, which helps to make them eligible for cost share monies that are appropriated from the State Department of Agriculture. So our mission and service as a county entity is to deliver service and educate. We also oversee the Master Gardener program. We've got a class currently. As soon as those are finished training in April, we'll have right at 120 certified Master Gardeners in Blount County. And this past year, as of December 31, they'd given back in the 2013 calendar year about 6,000 hours of volunteer service at a value of $112,000. The farmers we work with, we work with them year in, year out to help them become eligible for state cost share funds, again through the Department of Agriculture, the Ag Enhancement Program. So on average, and there's some fluctuation, but on average, we'll have 40 or more farmers eligible, and they've averaged about $70,000 in cost share monies. And they put this toward primarily livestock, enterprises, fruit and vegetable production, and so forth. In family and consumer sciences area, our staff, they teach and train in food safety, food preservation, co-parenting, financial training, first-time home buyer training, and pulling out a few bullets from, we're actually developing a quarterly county report that we'll forward to the mayor and commissioners. And this past weekend, if you look on the front page of the Life section, Linda's got an article there. March is National Nutrition Month, so you can look that over and example some of the training. And I guess kind of a bonus, we also were fortunate in that Blount County, your Blount County staff does a job. We've been able to attract federal funding to maintain 2 part-time program assistants to help deliver nutrition education to both youth and adult audiences, and that's just a bonus to the county. And then we might deliver again to about 2,000 plus 4-H'ers and 100-something clubs, and we've got a very active horse project group. Blount County 4-H'ers excel at regionally and state on several levels. We just beginning January 1 this year marks the beginning of our 103rd year of service to Blount County, and we certainly have valued that relationship over the years. I'll close here with, I guess, a note. You heard it here first as part of, well, let me back up and say just a moment. Agriculture, when you drive through Blount County, you know, if someone's only driving through Maryville or Alcoa, you may not see a lot of agricultural taking place, but you get off the back onto the back roads and throughout the county or from the air, you can see there's a lot of agricultural interest in Blount County, and it's basically to the tune of $21 million annually for the county. So even though it's a small percentage of the population as a whole, it's still very important to those engaged in agriculture, either part-time or full-time. And similarly, as the Veterans Affairs Officer indicated, we try to bring attention to the good things that are happening on the Blount County agricultural scene and get due recognition for our agricultural clientele. And so this is not even in the press yet, but we can certainly announce once again this year, Blount County will be home to the Tennessee Farmer of the Year. A couple of years ago, the late Mr. Mike Pate was honored. So this year, Mr. John Keller has just been announced as our Tennessee Farmer of the Year. And he will have an opportunity this month to be recognized at Ag Day in Nashville, and then a couple of venues again, and we'll accompany him to Moultrie, Georgia for the competition, regional competition in October. So with that, again, let me say it's a joy to serve you. I've been here going on 7 years in September. I have noticed a few more gray hairs in the time that I've been here, but I've still got a ways to go, hopefully. So it's a pleasure to serve you, and I'll be glad to address any questions I might be able to answer.
Anybody got any questions for John? John, thank you for everything that y'all do. Y'all bring a lot back into this county, and I appreciate that.
Thank you, Mayor.
Are we back up on the 4-H? Are we back doing the 4-H riding instructions that we were doing? We lost a few years back. The lady we lost on the...
Oh, yes. No, that's where, at that time when we incurred both state and county budget reductions, we were without a person in that position for over a year. And then about 18 months ago, Tennessee State University, which is based in Nashville, or 1890 land grant,
right.
They came to the table with some funding equally on the state matching side, so we have that position filled.
Good. Now, and that's been reoccurring funds that we've been able to get?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
That came about through your effort in your office.
Yes, we
Actively sought that out.
We actively sought that. Tennessee State University, being an 1890 institution, primarily receives federal and state funding geared toward minority populations and socially disadvantaged, economically disadvantaged. So they said, we've got some money. If you will send us a proposal where you can justify funding for those positions, then we'll entertain the notion. And we did that. We pulled from the county and census data and federal census data, and really that was an eye-opener. Even though Blount County is, on the surface, would appear to be a relatively wealthy county, we've had some increasing numbers of schools, the school population, and that's what that's based on, that's eligible for free and reduced lunch programs. And so we met the criteria, and we made a proposal to them, and upon review, then they concurred and granted us monies for that position.
Any other questions? Thank you, John.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Hang on just a second. One more comment I'd like to make on this gentleman here. It isn't just the farmers that benefit from that. I can't tell you how many times we've picked up the phone and said, John, can you help me with a seeding problem on a lawn? John, can you help me with weed control? John, can you tell me about trees and what we need to do with these trees? Every single time, John's there. John steps up, provides us the information. So it's not just the farmer, but it's also here in the county, the department heads here, and even from my own house. John, what do I do with my yard? Always very helpful.
Thank you, Damon. Yeah.
I have, and I can appreciate your question. I've had a wife, same wife, going on 36 years now, and she's been a real blessing. Although I worked here for a year before she came, not because she was unsure, but she had to finish a job elsewhere. But let me say, Damon, if this is a testimonial, thank you for keeping us warm in the winter. That annex can be rather challenging.
John, if Gerald got out of the farming, how much would it drop off of that 21 million?
Probably from 21 to 20 million.
Thank you. This time I'll ask if there's any input on items not on the agenda. Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.